So now it's time for me to scoot on down to the other end of the couch,
Okay.
and you can take my place on the hot cushion. So today I'm going to discuss your fantasy football footprint, follow that up with some questions. So please keep in mind I'm going to be very direct, to the point, and brutally honest, and the questions are not necessarily going to be easy. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, so before we get into the meat of this potato, I'd like to ask just a few things about you. So where did you go to college?
Kansas State University. The Kansas State University.
State, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. The Wildcats or Little Manhattan. So Richard's in Big Manhattan. You're in Little Manhattan. So we call it the Little Apple, right?
There you go. You got it. You're all over it.
Yeah, man. K-State's cool. So you live there? Is that where you live in the world nowadays, or?
Nope. So I live about an hour away now in the rival city of Lawrence, right? This is where the University of Kansas is. I live here now because my wife went to pharmacy school here. And so there was a year where we were separated when we were dating. We weren't married yet. My senior year at K-State was her first year in pharmacy school here. And so when I graduated, I up and moved here, and we're still here because I started PT school in the Kansas City area, and I commuted back and forth. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. So obviously you've been playing fantasy football for a long time. You said 4 or 5 years. So who is a player that you like because of attributes that are not football related?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. Not football related attributes that are not football. Well, here's the thing. What is considered football related?
You know how fast they run. You know what their production metrics are. You know things like that. Well, is there one you like because he's got a cool hairstyle, or Gardner Minshew because of his mustache?
Maybe this is a cop-out answer, because I think maybe a lot of people would say this. I like Juju Smith-Schuster because he just looks like a good dude. He comes out and has that beef with Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown tweets out, AB, he is what he is. I won't get into that, but he tweets out a screenshot of like 2016 or 15 when Juju DM'd him and was like, hey, I really want to be good at doing this job and you're the best at it. Do you have any advice? And he sent it out like it was a slight, and it's like, dude, that just makes me like Juju even more, that he is, dedicated to his craft in that way. And he also is just hilarious. Like on Twitter, he just seems like one of those dudes that you would like want to hang out with and not even have a beer with per se. You just want to be friends with Juju. You just like want him to be in your friend group because of how nice he is and because of how funny he is and stuff that he lets us see.
That's a good answer. Jeremy, got anything to unpack there?
Well, he couldn't even had a beer when he was first dominating in the line.
Yeah, no joke, huh?
All right, so I like Marshawn Lynch because I too know that I'm going to get got.
Ooh, I like Marshawn.
I am going to get mine a lot more than I get got, though. So I'm a beer guy. So I have to ask, what is your favorite style of beer?
Ooh, man. Also a good question. I really like craft beer in general. I like wheat beers a lot. Given we're in Kansas, there's just a ton of them here. But I also like a good IPA every now and then. And if not, I really like Mexican lagers. I sort of hung out with a lot of, I'm Mexican American, so I hung out with a lot of Mexicans growing up where I'm from, and that's what they drink to this day. And so I really like a Dos Equis or even a Modelo every now and then. Those are good. I like those beers. What about you guys?
Shoot, over there, I'm pretty sure you got your hazy IPA is the
sir.
Trend of choice right now, which I've been doing some research to brew one of those for the show, and that's going to be a little side deal. So I brew beer, but I'd say for me, it's like there's just not a favorite style. It's a style for the time, but I really like the Mexican lagers that a lot of these craft breweries are doing. So they've taken to start making that style because it does have a large following of people that like it, but in craft style you can make it even just a hair better than what you can buy in the bottle there, like you mentioned. But I really like Negra Modelo. I mean, that's a phenomenal Vienna lager. It's actually got heritage from when World War II sent a lot of people of Jewish descent out of Germany and Austria. They went to Mexico in some cases, and they started breweries. So there are several examples of really good German beers coming out of Mexico, and that's one of them.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really pretty neat. But all right, so final introduction question. What was your favorite thing about foosball?
Oh man, my favorite thing about foosball. Oh God, I don't want to get too corny, but also don't want to be too basic with this answer too. Man, you get good questions. I think that my favorite thing about football is the general idea that we as a human species were able to create this game and this sport that now provides athletes with the opportunity to make millions of dollars and secure, not secure necessarily, but help them get on this path of financial sort of security in a demographic, largely a black demographic, if we're being honest, that in some cases they don't have a lot of other opportunities. And so for that avenue to exist for them, that's definitely one of my favorite parts. And if you want to edit this part out, that's totally fine, but that's my answer for my heart.
No, that's good. I like spinning the goalie. It makes people mad. So now it's time for my hard-hitting analysis and drama-laden questions. Are you ready?
Sure, go for it.
In playing the sport of hockey, I am no stranger to soft tissue injuries. I have also witnessed more intense injuries and repeated concussions of a good friend and roommate. I watched a hard tissue break, aka someone's thigh bone shattering upon sliding into the boards. The Dallas Stars are an amazing up-and-coming contender for the Stanley Cup. Ice time is important for training of hockey players as well as in the training rooms of football teams. On a scale of 0 to 10, what setting on a muscle stimulator will make someone punch their own face?
Definitely caught me off guard with that one. I think that if you set that sucker on like 100 megahertz or something, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. This is something that I would not share otherwise. Modalities for the general patient population, which is like ice, heat, electrical stimulation, all those things are all sort of just like the physical version of taking an NSAID, like a pain pill. They don't do anything for you in the long term. They don't fix the problem at hand, and they definitely aren't the number one source of physical therapy. So I know enough to get you by, and I still have to brush up on those concepts, because the exact frequency, couldn't tell you, because all the PTs that I did my affiliations with, they were really, really good PTs, and we probably used that stuff like maybe 3% of the time. So there's your another 100%, honest answer.
Well, I'll accept that.
Yeah, I love it too, though, because I have that same sort of feeling and mentality about like psychotropic medication and psychological care. I think that correlates pretty well in terms of it being kind of short-term focused versus more like psychotherapy interventions that teach you skills, make you more aware, and teach you ways to change that are more long-lasting and less likely to have things like return to treatment or relapse or things like that. So I resonate with that a lot.
Well, the exact answer is 8 out of 10. So when Richard,
you say you're the derailer. I just derailed that entire answer for you. My bad.
What's the megahertz conversion chart to 8 out of 10?
See, when Richard and I were trainers in high school, we were trainers for a couple of years together, and so yeah, we would goof off with that kind of equipment. And ours didn't have the hertz reading that I remember. It just was a 0 to 10 scale. So yeah, when we actually did manage to make somebody punch themselves in the face, it was at the scale of 8. So it might work at 6 or 5, I don't know, but 8 definitely did it.
There you go.
Is that a published finding, Kyle?
Yes, I need to publish my works.
Cite Hora and LaPointe.
It also made me pee my pants. I laughed so hard watching somebody punch themselves in the face, freak out, trying to pull off the electrodes off their arm. All right, so Edwin, I have read that you are a therapist, and I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I host a podcast with a therapist. He often tries to replace me as his patient with any other guest that we have on our show. So since you have never tried to replace me as a guest, I think that you are a much better therapist than Jeremy. My pain is like the Milgram experiment for our listeners. In what year was Bo Jackson drafted into the NFL?
1982.
Close, 86.
Oh, God. I was 4 years off. You were trying to make me feel better. I wasn't even close.
Oh, that's pretty close. You're closer than Jeremy. He was 5 years off. So, all right. So every time I start a New England running back, I make the wrong choice. I have drafted the next Blunt. I've drafted the should have been Blunt. I've steered clear of that no talent back James White. I've even drafted great studs like Dion Lewis as soon as he left the shackles of Bellatrix. My heart hurts, my head hurts, I am injured. But Tom Brady is now a Buccaneer, and at his advanced age, what is the % chance that he and Giselle will become pregnant?
At his advanced age, what is the chance? Listen, I don't know, man. That's out of my wheelhouse. I'll tell you that. You know, there are a lot of great fertilization docs you can talk to, and they'll give you some options, and you can sort of hash it out there. Adoption's always an option, of course, and you know, at this advanced age, I'd be more worried that he ruptures his UCL. So. Probably more likely to happen than him have another child at this point, I think. But I can't speak for him, obviously. I don't know.
Well, the medical charts that I looked at said 5%. 5% each month. Right. So I guess depending on how often they try.
Awesome.
So my last question here exists in 4 parts. So you can get 4 parts of them ready and correct. The first 3 are individual questions that you will have to fill in the blanks, and then you'll have to arrange those blanks into a full sentence for your 4th question. So question 1, blank, blank, therefore I am.
Injuries exist, therefore I am.
I believe the actual quote is, I think, therefore I am. So I think would be your answer to.
Is that wrong?
Good. It's a good Edwin philosophical.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out for like a couple seconds there, and so I was trying to fill in the blanks during like your explanation. You cut out, so
yeah. So basically, yep, you're gonna fill in these blanks with the correct answer there, and then you got to arrange the blanks as the words that they are actually supposed to be. So your first question answer was I think. And second question is, if a player dislocates a shoulder in high school, 3 times in college, and twice in the first year of his NFL career, that player would be labeled blank blank.
Oh man, I know this isn't going to be the answer. I think it is. I don't know. You got me.
All right, we're going to call that injury prone. Injury prone. So the third question, Pablo Picasso once wrote, everything you can imagine, blank, blank.
Everything you can, I have no idea, man. I'm sorry.
He said, everything you can imagine is real. All right, so do you remember the different answers for the first 3 questions? So. All right, can you arrange those into a sentence?
I gotta be honest, man. I got lost, so you're gonna have to do it for me.
I'll help you.
Okay.
So the first one was, I think.
Okay.
And then you had injury prone, and then what was the last one, Kyle?
Everything you can imagine is real.
It's real. Injury prone is real. Oh, okay. I think
it is.
Injury prone is real. Ha 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 ha. So yeah. So during that explanation, sorry, you cut out, and so I was trying to like decipher without having to ask you to clarify again. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're more than welcome to clarify during this segment. The entire purpose of this segment is to keep you off kilter. So
here I am off kilter. So that's good.
And now we have a documented soundbite of Edwin saying that injury prone.
Yeah, I get it now.
Which was the entire point.
So yeah, I'll often do 5-minute worth of questions just to get the one soundbite that I want from it. But thank you for your time. I appreciate your candid and truthful answers and my insightful and hard-hitting analysis. You can now return to your seat and leave the hot cushion.
All right. I don't like the hot cushion.
Not many do.